Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Prime Minister to create 10,000 new prison places and extend stop and search from the BBC News 3 hours ago. So, obviously, as a freedom loving individual, my initial thought is, oh hell no, don't extend stop and search. I would like to be able to defend myself and also enjoy my private life and not be probed and prodded by police. I'm not doing anything wrong, so I want the presumption of innocence, not the presumption of guilt. I want to be innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent, which is what Stop and Search seems to be wanting to doing, especially with the alleviation of limitations from the Section 60 Act. So, we got 10,000 new prison places, they're saying, and this is on top of earlier ones. So an extra 10,000 new prison places will be created and Stop and Search powers expanded, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has promised. The first new prison in the £2.5 billion programme will be at HMP Full Sutton in Yorkshire, where expansion plans have previously been announced. The government said the plans showed it was serious about fighting crime, but Labour Shadow Home Secretary Diane Flabbert said random stop and search was a recipe for unrest. And she's quoting random because she's saying it's targeting ethnic minorities. It's basically picking the people who are most likely to commit the crime. The whole 650 comes up yet again, 6% of the population, 50% of the violent crime. Yes, so it's understandable then. But a similar thing, even if you go to race realists, Stefan Molyneux, whatever you want to go down towards, you could say, as a collective, here are some estimations you can procure, but from the individual, you cannot. And it's a sticking point. And I know it can be difficult to differentiate between the two sometimes, but there is a difference to be made. Everybody is an individual, and just because they belong to different groups, it doesn't mean they are a spokesperson for that group or they represent that group particularly well. They say the government's focus on law and order will add to speculation that Number 10 is preparing for an autumn general election, said BBC political correspondent Jonathan Blake. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised. They're trying to pick everything. They're trying to say Brexit's going well and we're also going to defend everybody from the EU as well as our own people, even though by our own people he mainly means unchecked immigrants who perhaps just want to cause harm instead of actually help the country. So the prison policing plans for England and Wales follow other recent initiatives from Downing Street about the NHS and immigration. Last month the government also pledged to recruit 20,000 extra police officers, nearly replacing the number of officers lost since the Conservatives returned to power. I don't see how either of this is conserving. The NHS, that is not conservative. Increasing police presence is not conservative. A police state and socialism is not conservative. But apparently that's what they're doing. So, to tell me again how the Tories are far right, or hardline right, or right-wing extremists. Not at all. Policing Minister Kit Malthouse told Sky News, whatever, we know the greatest deterrent to crime is the perception of the likelihood of getting caught. Prevention is really what we're after. So not the seriousness of the crime, but just whether or not you're going to get caught. So that's more police and not necessarily more prison space. But on the same programme, Lord Heseltine accused the government of economic irresponsibility. That's rich. Saying it was trashing money around the place like there was no tomorrow, aimed very specifically at very clear electoral targets. Well, it's also one of these things where I don't think it's so much as a deterrent. I don't think it's about rehabilitation. I think it is predominantly about protecting the people who are not in prison. That is essentially what it is about. And therefore, these people who are then not afraid and not being targeted can then help themselves, help each other, help their families to create a new, better society, maybe harkening back to the old days, where there was more trust in communities and not so much mistrust. I'm not saying this is going to work, but I think that's the idea. 10,000 new prison places are expected to be created by building new jails, expanding existing ones, cost of £2.5 billion, yada yada yada. Mr. Johnson said the investment was long overdue. We need to come down hard on crime, he wrote. That means coming down hard on criminals, we need to reverse the balance of fear. I wanted the criminals to be afraid, not the public. Yes, but a police state makes the public afraid, because let's allow the police that much power. Who knows what the law is going to be next week, next month, next year, whatever. And then law-abiding citizens suddenly are not law-abiding. And then if you want to get into robot police and drones and facial recognition and all that, and the police just being robots, then it makes it even more frightening, even to the public. And let's say everybody might have done some sort of small criminal act. Could even be speeding, for example. Well, this means you're not allowed to get away with anything. Even though, obviously, as it's been proven so many times, the government does not know what is best. The individuals do. Which is why it was nice a while back to hear Jacob Rees-Mogg say that he knows that people know how to spend their money better than the government does. Let's see if he wishes to hold on to that, or he's going to let it go to get himself more power. Let's see. So, in 2016, former Justice Secretary Liz Truss unveiled a white paper promising £1.3 billion investment in prisons, adding an extra 10,000 places by 2020, later pushed back to 2022, as all government programmes are. The Ministry of Justice said it was on course to create 3,360 places at 2 new prisons by 2023, and the government sources said the £2.5 billion funding would allow it to deliver 10,000 places on top of that, including projects already at a planning stage, such as HMP Full Sutton. So I'd say the suggestion all 10,000 places were new was misleading. The Trust said prisons needed 12,000 more places just to eliminate overcrowding and accommodate new prisoners who have already been sentenced. But it gets worse. We know the aggressive rhetoric of prison works invariably drives up the use of imprisonment long before the capacity to deal with that has been created. Tough rhetoric is no substitute for understanding the evidence. And it gets even worse because they say that it's going to cause even more havoc within the jails with too much violence there. It's already the case that you need to join a gang within the prison in order to stay safe, and when it gets bigger, that's just going to grow. And crime doesn't stop when people get into prison. So then they go on to say, how is stop and search changing? And in case you're wondering, my vague response to this is to say, well, in that case, you need to ideally change the society. And yeah, I know that's pie in the sky ideas, that's a pipe dream, how the hell are you going to do that? But it essentially just comes down to idolising more favourable traits that are more helpful to people, and it isn't just saying, do whatever, be animalistic and impulsive, but it is think of the future, essentially. Do the things that will make you proud, do what is right and what is expedient. So how is stop and search changing? They say a pilot scheme making it easier for police to search people without reasonable suspicion in places where serious violence may occur is being extended to all 43 forces across England and Wales, which is horrific. In March, when he was Home Secretary, Sajid Javid first introduced the scheme in 7 police force areas: London, the West Midlands, Merseyside, South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, South Wales and Greater Manchester. The latest move will see restrictions over using Section 60 stop and search lifted more widely, giving officers across England and Wales, and this is the important bit, a limited time period to search anyone in a designated area in order to prevent violent crime. It gets worse. Inspectors will now be able to use Section 60 without seeking the authorisation of a senior officer, and there will be a lower threshold for its use, with police only needing to reasonably believe that violence may occur, not that it will. Late night in a city, violence may occur. Let's stop you, because why not? They say they're going to be wearing more body cameras, but we ought to know that planting evidence isn't something they won't do. So yeah, and that person was rude to me earlier on in the day, or I don't like that person's family, or I saw them wearing a Pepe hoodie, or whatever it might be. It's gonna be, no, I'm going to stop you. Nah. Well, if nothing else, I'm going to stop you, and then nobody else is going to want to do business with you because now you've been talking to the police. Nah. So why are some people concerned about stop and search? Well, me, but they're not going to mention that. In 2017-2018, black people were 9.5 times more likely to be searched than white people, a gap which has grown in recent years. Yeah, again, 650. 6% of the population, 50% of the crime, so then 12% would be 100%. That ties into 9.5. Well, it ties into 9 then. Fair enough then. Jonathan Hines, who campaigns against its misuse, told BBC Radio 5 Live he had been stopped 3 times within a mile by 3 different police officers. He warned black people face being targeted by these draconian powers. Yeah, I'm on board. Sure, the left and the right can agree. Well, not the left, because they want a police state. They just want to be in power as well. So whatever, then the intersectional and the right can agree. Maybe. But let's get back to Flabbit. She said evidence-based stop and search was an important tool, but random stops have only poisoned police community relations and were tried and tested recipe for unrest. Which brings me on to a point of how do you feel about discrimination to pick black people to be the police officers in densely black populations to try and show that there is another way out from gang culture, for example? Or do you think that is too patronising? Because anybody with half a brain would be able to realise that they're free to do what they want to do, and they don't need somebody with the same skin color or race or creed or whatever, ethnicity, whatever you want to say. They don't need somebody like that to show that it's possible if it is done on the merits. And it's only the stupid people who can't see past the end of their nose who would actually need somebody who looked like them to be reflective of their future. So then they say that it could be a general election. Cool. What are the police saying? John Abt, the Federation National Chairman, said, "We can't have a postcode lottery and keeping the public safe. We are in the grip of a wave of violent crime on a scale we've not seen before, with young people being killed or stabbed in our streets, and we have to do something about it." He acknowledged concern about stop and search and said police officers would be as professional as possible, with many wearing body cameras, but he said they also had to respond to people who could be incredibly hostile, aggressive, and violent. Yeah, what if you've got nothing to hide? Just say, no, I'm following the law and I don't want to be searched because you have no reason and I'm not doing anything wrong. Then what? Then they go to search you anyway and go, yep, and I wasn't doing anything wrong. So leave me alone. I like my privacy. What's wrong with that? I'm not harming anyone. I'm not being a nuisance. Leave me alone. How about you actually deal with the proper crime? How about that? Yeah, so this is going to be used however they want to use it. Don't for a second think that any program, let alone a government program, is going to go as expected. It's just human nature, or just nature, that things aren't as predictable as you want them to be. But that about brings us to the end of it. So let me know what you guys think below. I'm intrigued to know what you guys think of it. Do you think they're then going to be calling for a new general election? Do you think the new police spaces are good? And do you think stop and search is good? Or it's just, as they say, a draconian state that they're trying to bring in too many police and diminish people's freedom? I'm intrigued to know what you guys have to say below, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.